Yes,
we can.
Share feedback. Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again. I'm very delighted to be here today, and I'd like to thank, first of all, the leadership of this present house church, as well as the amazing team of the Livewire Hub. I'm really honored to be here. I'm really privileged. I do not take this time for granted. Like she said, we'll be talking about our eyes today. I understand that a lot of people, the eyes are a very delicate, fragile organ. It looks so small, but then there's a lot, trust me, there's a lot that, that goes on in the eyes for you to be able to appreciate vision. And so today we're going to be loving on our eyes, like Sister Shay said already. This month happens to be we happen to have a lot of awareness about the eyes this month, and so we'll be looking at a few tips today that will help us our eyes better. Can I have the slides up, please? Can I have the slides up, please?
Coming up.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. Sorry, my eyes are not really on the comment section, but I appreciate the warm welcome. Thank you. Okay, so like we rightly said, we'll be talking about caring for our eyes. And before I talk about anything else, I'd like to start us up with a little bit of a quiz. Now, this quiz is something that everybody should attempt. Don't say, oh, I don't know much about the eyes, or what do I know? No, you have, as long as you have eyes, you can attempt each of these questions. So I really want to know what's on your heart when it comes to your eye health. I want to know how much, how much of a perspective you have as regards your eyes. So that's the reason why the quiz, it's a pop quiz, very quick one. So can we go to the next slide, please? So the first question says, so you're going to put your answer in the chat box for me, and we'll take a survey to know which of the responses prevailed. So the first question says, which of these may not cause itching to the eyes? So in your perspective, which of these things will not cause itching or may not cause itching to the eyes? The first one says need for prescription glasses may not cause itching. Is that true? Second says wearing sunglasses may not cause itching. Do you think that's correct? Third says allergies may not cause itching. Is that right? And the last says dust may not cause itching. So I put up these questions. I actually coined them. So trust me, there's no, it's pretty easy. Okay, nice. Nice, okay. I see B, D, B, A. Okay. I'll wait for one last answer and then we'll go on to the correct one. Oh, nice, interesting. Okay. I like that we have a lot of people saying wearing sunglasses. So that's actually correct. Wearing sunglasses will not cause itching to your eyes. Now, if you need prescription glasses, you probably may have itching. That's one of the things that may happen. If you have an allergy, you will, in most cases, especially when it has to do with your eyes, you'll definitely have itching as one of the symptoms. And if also, you get around dust and all of that, it could lead to itching as well. So B is actually correct. Wearing sunglasses does not cause itching to the eyes. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Question 2. I think I like this one. Question 2 says, are we there? Question 2 says, everyone who uses glasses cannot see properly. Yes? Sorry?
Okay. Please, let's be unmuted. We're not speaking for now. Thanks.
Okay. So question 2 says, everyone who uses glasses cannot see properly without them. Is that true or false? What do you think? If it's true, please put true. If it's false, please put false. Okay, so some people think it's true, some people think it's false. False, okay. False. Okay, false. True, okay. 2 more responses and we're good. True. Who else wants to try? True or false? Does everyone you see using glasses, do they all, have very bad vision? Like if they don't use their glasses, they won't be able to see. What do you think? What's on your heart? Let's see. Okay. While the other responses are coming up, I think I'll just go on to the answer for that question so we can rush off. The answer to that question is actually false. So everyone who uses glasses can not see properly without them. False. That's because some people actually have very good vision with or without their glasses, like myself. I use a pair of glasses, but without them, I can actually see very well for far, for near, and for everything in between. So some people use glasses for different things. Some people use it because it helps their muscles relax. And so it helps ease up headaches. Sometimes people use it because if they don't use glasses, they'll keep itching, their eyes will keep itching. And, people use glasses for different reasons, or people get prescribed glasses for different reasons. So don't have that stereotype in your mind and say, oh, if those who use glasses cannot see without them. No, that's not true. Okay, so on to the third question. It says, general health body medications can affect the eyes. Is that true or false? Okay, so when I say, thank you for bringing that up. Who's this? Lady, thank you. So when I say glasses, I mean prescription glasses, definitely. Yes, please. Okay, so number 3 says, general health body medications can affect the eyes. Is that true or false? Good. I love this. Good. Oh, you guys are scholars in this class. This is good. So let's go home, right? So there's not much to learn again. This is good. I like that we're very, very abreast with these things. So general health body medications can affect the eyes. Very true. So sometimes people take medications that reflect in the eye, especially where you talk about drug toxicity and whatnot. But it's important that we have that knowledge that there are certain medications, or even, some of the things that we apply on our skin that can affect the eyes. For instance, let me just chip this in so I don't forget. For instance, there's this thing about bleaching cream. I know a lot of people have been hearing about it lately. Most of them contain, or should I say, they actually contain steroids, which have an adverse effect on the rest of the body as well as the eyes. And so you see that in lots of cases, accumulation of that product can cause, over time, can cause cataracts to the eyes. Who would have thought, right? You're just putting it on your skin. So why would it translate to cataracts over the years? Well, there you have it. So general health and body medications can affect the eyes. Very true. All right, so let's go to the last question. I'm guessing everybody's going to get this one as well. Next slide, please. Which of these images best depicts cataract? So I know a lot of people are familiar with the eye condition cataract. A lot of people say, oh, that person had cataract and all that. So which of them is really cataract? I need you to look at the eyes very well. Is it A or is it B? A or B? Okay. All right, more responses. Good. Okay, good. Good. So when you see someone with the first image, you say that person has cataract, or when you see someone who whose eye appears like the second image, you say that person has cataract? Okay, interesting. We have a lot of scholars here. I'm happy to see that. So the correct answer to this question is B. So B is actually that second eye, the left eye. You can say the left eye of that child has cataract. So when you see the first image, what that's actually called is pterygium. I've seen that a lot of people mistake pterygium for cataract. So people see the first image and say, oh, that person has cataract, and the person had cataract surgery, when that gets to be scraped off. But in a lot of cases, that's not true. The second image is the one that that depicts cataract. So I would like to talk a little bit about the first image. Would you oblige me? So that image, like I said, is pterygium. Some of you will wonder, what could this person have done to get to this, to this level? What was the person sleeping, when this thing began? So what's that? It looks pretty scary, right? Nobody wants to really have that on their eyes, but really, that's why it's important to protect your eyes. In caring for your eyes, it's important that you protect your eyes. I'm going to talk about ways you can protect your eyes, but I want to stress this so that everyone is conscious of it. So one of the things that can cause this thing that you see, it's the fleshy portion of the eye, the conjunctiva actually just, growing into the black of the eye, the covering of the cornea, and so this actually occurs as a result of exposures to smoke, to dust, direct sunlight, and what have you. So it's important to protect your eyes, because some people, if you go to the markets a lot, you'll see that a lot of women, market women, especially those who have to maybe, smoke fish or stuff like that, who do those kinds of work that have to do with smoke a lot or dust a lot, they have this. It may not be this serious yet, but it will definitely get there if they're continually exposed to that. All right, so thank you for partaking in my quiz, my pop quiz. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So like Shay rightly said, this week, the week we've just gotten into, happens to be on Thursday, actually, this week, which is the 13th of this month, happens to be World Sight Day, and it is themed Love Your Eyes. And so it's interesting that we're having this conversation because it's important. I think the eyes are part of the body that we really do not talk about a lot. Next slide, please. So in loving your eyes, it is important that you know how to care for your eyes. Do not outsource that part of your life to somebody else. Don't say, oh, that's the doctor's business. I just go. A lot of people outsource their health to somebody else who's dealing with their own health as well. So it's important that as much as possible, you begin to learn how to care for your eyes. And I'm glad that we're all here. That means that we prioritize this, and we're interested in showing love for our eyes. So this says that, yeah, I just put that up. It says that not everyone who has eyes can see. Do you love your eyes? So the fact that everyone is opening their eyes doesn't mean that everyone can actually see, or everyone can even see properly. Some people don't use glasses, but that doesn't mean that they're not meant to use glasses. That doesn't mean that their vision is actually, so good without them. So can we go to the next slide, please? Just for that awareness. So yes, let's do a little bit of knowing our eyes. So the first image we have here actually is what we see, right? When you look in the mirror, that's what you get to see. Oh, pretty and nice, right? Yes. And then the second image on the right shows what the eye actually is. It's that ball, yes, and that's why it's called an eyeball, right? Okay, so that's the external. I don't want to bore you with all the many terms that goes with that image, but I would like to go on to the third image, which is actually the internal part of the eye where we actually do not get to see. Now, none of us can see this without the aid, without the help of certain equipments and instruments that actually help us to magnify these tissues so that we can appreciate them for what they actually are and what they do. So you can see that the third image has a number of layers. We can't even see all the layers right now because there's so much when it comes to the eyes. It looks so small, so tiny, and so insignificant, but trust me, each one plays a very significant role. All right, can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. That said, it's important to know how to care for, if you're learning how to care about your eyes, you should also know the practitioners that help you in caring for your eyes. And that's why I included this slide. I like to call them the big four. And so you have the ophthalmologist, the optometrist, the optician, and the ophthalmic nurse. So when it comes to caring for your eyes, these are the eye health practitioners involved. And a lot of people don't know the difference. So this will help you. I hope after tonight, nobody goes home without, without an idea of, oh, when you hear ophthalmologist, you know what that is. When you hear optometrist, you know what that is. When you hear optician, you know what that is. And when you hear about an ophthalmic nurse, you know what that is. And so I'll just briefly touch on each one. So the ophthalmologist is the eye doctor who deals majorly with secondary eye care, especially when it has to do with surgery. Secondary eye care means that things that cannot be sorted out immediately, stuff that is quite complicated. All right. And so on to the optometrist. Optometrist is the eye doctor who is licensed to practice as a primary eye care giver. And so they diagnose, diseases and eye conditions. They refract, which means that they actually prescribe medications. They prescribe prescription lenses for you. And then they also treat and prescribe medications and manage conditions depending on what you may need. That means that, I'm trying to rush, that means that the first person you see when you get to an eye clinic is the primary eye care giver, who is the optometrist. Okay, and so let me see. And so the optometrist tells you, oh, you need to get a pair of glasses, or you need to get these medications, or you need to see the ophthalmologist. And so the optician is the technician who works on designs and, lens fitting and all of that. So in most cases, you do not even get to see the optician because most of the time they work behind the scenes, working on your glasses as directed by the optometrist. And then there's the ophthalmic nurse who assists during surgeries, also helps to check your vitals and, helps with surgery post-care alongside the optometrist. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So how many minutes do we have? Okay, so this statistics was rightly put up by the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness. They're a major body in charge when it comes to the World Sight Day and other eye health campaigns. And so they said that 1.1 billion people experience vision loss, primarily because they do not have access to eye health services when and where they need them. They also said that over 90% of those with uncorrected vision loss live in low and middle income countries. Can you pause and think about that? Does that describe the country you're residing in currently? Okay. And then the last one here, I just picked a few. There's quite a lot of quotes and, statistics out there, but the last one is my major concern, which says that 90% of sight loss is preventable or treatable, which means that that person who is blind probably didn't have to go blind. Yes, so you can let that soak in for a bit. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so now that we've known all of these things, we know how our eyes look on the outside, we know how our eyes look on the inside, we have an idea of, the many layers that goes when it comes to the eyes. I'm sure we'll deal with the rest of it on a later day. We're now going to explore several tips on how to care for your eyes. And the first one I'd like us to consider today is the eye screen breaks. It's no news in today's world, that is, that, you know, lots of us move from one screen to another. Your eyes are sweeping through from screen to screen, screen to screen. We're all staring into, you know, our screens as we speak, you know, as I speak right now, you know, so it's no news that we have that. And so it's important to learn how to care for our eyes in the midst of this. I always tell my patients something. The eyes were not made for these devices. The devices were made for the eyes. That means that your eyes should not suffer because you're trying to utilize one device or the other. It should be the other way around. So you try to, you know, manage whatever devices you have to use, whatever, you know, whatever you need to use. If you're exposed to certain lightings by reason of the kind of job that you do, it's important that you fine-tune these things for your eye health. Your eye health is paramount and it should be prioritized. And so on eye screen breaks, the two things I'd like you to remember every time you pick up your screen, you pick up your phone or your iPad or your laptop, you know, whatever screens you're having to look into, is first of all, the 20-20-20 rule. Can you type that in the chat box? 20-20-20. I want this to be on everybody's hearts. 20-20-20. It's not hard, is it? No. So that means that 20 feet away for 20 seconds, you look, having had a 20 minutes view of your screen. So let me rephrase that. So once you stare on your screen for 20 minutes, try as much as possible to look at something very far away from you. That's like, you know, approximately 20 feet. Feet is feet, like your feet. So don't think of something, oh, I don't know inches, meters, I don't know how to measure that. Just, you know, kind of do an approximation in your heart and say, oh, this should be like 20 feet away from me. And then you look at that thing for 20 seconds. That will help your eye muscles relax from the near work that you've been doing. And so your eyes, you know, get to relax from all the work that you've had to do on your screen and all of that. It's very important to take the 20-20-20 rule seriously. So work for 20 minutes, look for something 20 feet ahead of you or, you know, far away from you, then look for the next 20 seconds at that thing. Please, it's so important. And then the next thing I'd like us to remember is the think blink, which means that from time to time, remind yourself to blink your eyes, because what happens is that when you're focusing on these screens, your mind tells you that, oh, I mustn't miss that information. I mustn't miss what's coming next. And so you're not conscious of blinking. But blinking is so important for the eyes because it helps to nourish the eyes. It helps to moisten the eyes. You know, it helps your eyes to keep, it just keeps your eyes nice and nourished. And it means that it also helps, you know, with the passage of oxygen so that your eyes do not suffer because you're trying to look at the screen. So it's important to remind yourself while you're working on your screen to blink your eyes so that the tears wash over your eyeball, the external of the eye, and then you're able to take that break. It's so important. Okay, so I'll move on to the next point, which says wear sunglasses outside. So you don't just wear any kind of sunglasses, guys. There are UV protection glasses, which we also call ultraviolet ray protection glasses. So you should look out for that when next you want to purchase a pair of sunglasses. Don't just go and buy some, oh, it looks so dark, I think it's going to work. No, it doesn't exactly work that way. So you want to be sure that you're protecting your eyes and you're not being deceived. You know, it's very important. Okay, so what else? Yes, so like I said, remember we talked about pterygium in the beginning. So one of the major ways to protect your eyes from developing pterygium is by putting on a pair of sunglasses when you're outside, or at least, you know, glasses that actually have a very wide coverage for your eyes. And so you're protected from environmental factors like, yes, exactly, Sophie, thank you. So so that you're protected from dust, from the sunlight, you're protected from smoke, at least as much as possible. It helps shield your eyes away from those environmental factors. It's also important to note that, the climate where we are is not exactly safe when it comes to flying objects and what have you. And so that means that you can see someone whose eyes are perfectly fine today, and tomorrow you hear that someone slapped or something happened, something just bumped into the person while he was on his way, or, someone threw something. There are a lot of things that happen, but when you at least put on a pair of sunglasses to protect your eyes, it sort of protects your eyes from that direct impact of whatever external factors could have had an impact on your, whatever impact it could have had on your eyes. So that's why it's important to put on a pair of sunglasses when you're outside. Okay, on to the next point. This says wear your prescription lenses. So if you have been prescribed a pair of lenses before, yes, I'm back here for that. You should use your glasses. Don't say, oh no, I think the glasses have done their work and all that. I also noted down here that most of the time when we give a pair of glasses, prescription glasses, I mean, those glasses are actually compensatory, not curative. So there's a difference. There are cases where, of course, we give a person a pair of glasses and say, oh, just wear it for a few months or something, and you can do away with them. But if you haven't been told that by your eye care practitioner, do not on your own self-prescribe, not using your glasses. If you've been told that you need to wear a pair of glasses, please, as much as possible, you need to wear your glasses so that you save your eyes the stress and the strain of having to do more than it's meant to do. Because over time, the muscles of your eye, you don't see these things, right? But then the muscles of your eyes begin to weaken. And then because over time, you've worn your eyes out doing so much work, sometimes at that point when you actually now try to wear glasses, the glasses will not help, may not help. There are cases where we have, induced and all of that. That's the story for another day. The idea is you're meant to use glasses. Please be consistent. I see you. Please be consistent with your glasses. Okay, so also, yes, very interesting part. And I have a pair of glasses with me here for a brief illustration. I hope we can all follow. So yes, there's what we also call, so when you're getting a pair of glasses, there are glasses that can come, plain white, no protection, no tinting, nothing. And then there are glasses that actually are tinted. And then there are glasses that will have a photochromic coating over them. And then there are glasses that will have the anti-reflective coating or a blue cut coating or what have you. There are a number of coatings actually. I'm going to zero in on these ones because these are the ones we, everyday glasses. These are the ones we get to fix generally. Okay, so when a person goes for a normal tinted lens or even a white lens, it doesn't protect the eyes. It just helps your vision because, of course, your prescription has been put into consideration there. And so you see clearly and all of that, but there's no protection. Your eyes are, the sunlight and the ultraviolet rays are getting directly into your eyes. I would also like to state that the sun is not your friend at this point. I have to say that. I remember as children, we used to try this thing. Oh, I can look at the sun directly. Oh, I can see it. It looks so, I can look at it directly. Please don't go doing that at this point. Really, the sunlight is not exactly friendly for your eyes because over time, research has shown that it can cause tissue damage. So you really do not want to go doing that. And that's one reason why it's important to wear your sunglasses. If you're not going to be putting on your prescription lenses, make sure you're putting on your sunglasses that have the ultraviolet protection, not just any kind of sunglasses. Okay, so over to the illustration I'm going to do. So let me see. I need to see myself for this one. I hope we're following. Sorry, I hope I'm not going too fast. I'm not losing anyone, am I? Feedback, please. Thank you.
We're here, Dr. Efi. We're here.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. All right. So this is a pair of glasses. Can you see that? I'm trying to hold it up against the white so that you can see that it's actually tinted, right? It's not exactly clear. Can you see that? I hope you can. So this is a tinted lens. If you look at it, you can see that my ring light, the ring light reflection from it is white, pure white, right? There's no extra, there's nothing else to it. So this does not have any protection whatsoever, even though it could be darker than this, and you'll feel like, oh, this, this is dark and it's doing stuff, but it's not doing anything really because there's no protection to it. And so just a little demonstration, I'm going to pass. This is an ultraviolet ray. Yeah, so you can see that it's a blue ray. So I'm going to pass this through, and we'll see that after a couple of seconds, nothing happens, nothing, no difference, no changes. I hope we can see that clearly. Okay, so now let me try that with my pair of glasses that are photochromic. This has the photochromic coating, which means that it will darken under the sun. But if you look at it, you can see that beyond that, it actually has like a rainbow-like reflection, like a greenish reflection. Can you see that? I hope you can. So this actually has, I'm teaching you this so you know how to differentiate between regular lenses and those that actually have a protection, so that whenever and wherever you're getting a pair of glasses, you can actually know the difference for yourself. So that rainbow-like reflection actually is what we call the anti-reflective coating. So this is what really protects your eyes. So it sort of absorbs harmful rays of light that would have caused damage to your eye tissues. So this has that effect. And so it also has a photochromic coating. We're going to pass light through. We're going to pass our blue light through now for the next few seconds and see what happens. Okay, let me see. Do you observe that? Did you see that? So you see it has darkened in that part of it. I don't have so much time. I would have stayed longer. But can you see that? So that actually shows that this protects my eyes. So when harmful rays of light are coming, I know I'm protected. Now on to the very next one. I'm going to try this. So you can see that the reflection from this is also different from the ones we've had before. So this has like a bluish, purplish reflection, I guess. Can you see that? Let me put it on. Okay, good. So this is actually a higher version of the one I just did. This is a blue cut or a blue coating, which protects the eyes a lot more from ultraviolet rays and blue light than the previous, the anti-reflective. And so what happens when I do that same test with the ultraviolet lighting, you can see that it darkens. Did you see that? So this is what we call, I hope everyone can see that and appreciate it. So that's what happens when your eyes are being protected. So don't get deceived. Don't say, oh, my glasses look so dark. No, is it photochromic? Is it anti-reflective? Or does it have the blue cut, coating? You need to find out these things so that you do not deceive yourself. Okay, so I think we can go to the next slide. Please put down any questions you have for me. Let me see. Okay, so yes, the next point we have here says that as much as possible, it's important to spend some time outside, especially for our children. Now, I'm saying this because it's important that we don't get too used to the whole near work thing. Everything you're doing is on your screen, from your screen to, one phone to another. As much as possible, you want your eyes to relax. You want to look at things far away from you. You want to be able to appreciate the environment. So you have to, especially for those who have children, you have to be conscious of giving them that time off their screens and not just staying inside. Let them go outside for at least 2 hours per day. Let them have that time where they actually appreciate the environment. Let them have that time of outdoor activities so that they do not develop nearsightedness. Now, nearsightedness is when a person can see very clearly for up close, up close materials, or anything far away from them. They can't quite appreciate it. And that's because their eyes are in a very formative stage at that time. So you want to help their eyes to develop properly. And so that's something to note. Also, for every one of us, it's very important that you get enough sleep, at least between 6 to 8 hours, please. I know we're all busy, and yes, life happens and all of that, but please, for your eye health and for your general body health, it's important that you get enough sleep. I'll try to run. Okay, so the next one is eat a healthy diet. It's no news. I'm sure we all know by now how important our feeding is to our health generally. And then narrowing it down to our eyes, it is so important that you take in green leafy vegetables, a variety of colors, really. You have the carrots, you have tomatoes, you have different kinds of vegetables, and fruits are very good for the eyes. Of course, the proteins are very important as well. And then as much as possible, you want to have more of those so that you get all the essential vitamins and minerals from there. Also, it's important to exercise regularly, because there are a lot of health conditions that affect the eyes that are actually, predominant in the body, which means that it actually starts off in the body and then it goes on to affect the eyes. So you want to, as much as possible, exercise so that you avoid those kinds of conditions like, high blood pressure, for instance, high cholesterol, and, normal, some of these things that stresses can also cause. As much as possible, you want to reduce the impact of these systemic conditions on your eyes. Also, ladies, for those of us who love eye makeup, those of us, because I love eye makeup as well. So for those of us in that category, you want to be sure that as much as possible, you check the expiry date of your eye makeup. I'm sure we're all falling short on this. You want to be sure that you follow through with it, please, so that you do not cause more harm for your eyes. Yes, your eyes need to look beautiful, but as much as possible, you want to be sure that your eyes are even healthy. It's more important that they are healthy as well. So check the expiry date so that you do not accumulate bacteria around your eyes, which will eventually cause infections that may be a bit more complicated than necessary. So please, let's keep an eye out for that. Also, ensure that you replace your brushes, your makeup brushes regularly. So this also goes for people who are into the makeup industry. As much as possible, please do not use the same makeup brush you used for the last 5 people or 10 people on all your clients, please. It's so important. There's a lot to say on this, but I'll try to rush. Okay, so can we try the next slide, please? Okay, the next point says, do not smoke. It increases the risk of developing serious eye conditions and permanent sight loss. That goes without saying. I'll go on to the next one, which says that for those who have an eye condition, keep up with your appointments. Some eye conditions, some of the popular eye conditions are glaucoma, cataract, age-related macular degeneration. These are things that are actually very sight-threatening. And I'd like to talk a little about the first one, which is glaucoma. I'm saying this because glaucoma doesn't give any symptoms in a lot of cases. People just, I remember there was a case I saw when I was still pretty young in the profession. There was this case I saw, a guy I saw once who was working in a hospital, and he had, no vision in one eye. And I was just amazed. How could that possibly be? And then when I checked the back of the eyes, wow, it was full-blown glaucoma. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. How could you be here in this kind of an environment and not have found that earlier? And then he said he actually he was he said he's still young because he was in his 30s at the time. So trust me, it's not age bound. Don't say, oh, until I get to when I'm 40 and above, or when I'm 50, 60, when I'm, no, it's important that you keep an eye on these things. So at that time, he had lost vision in one eye, but thankfully the other eye was spared at that time. And so, of course, he had to follow through more carefully on vision in that eye. Okay, so that's the reason why it's also very important if you have an eye condition to keep up with your follow-up, your appointments. I cannot overemphasize this. It's so important that you keep up with your follow-up visitations. Don't say, oh no, I just keep going over time. There's no, when it comes, there are eye conditions that never really get better. Newsflash, they won't get better. But what we do, at least right now, medically speaking, that is, there's nothing but not do, thank God. But when it comes to keeping an eye on the eyes as much as possible, what we do is that we avoid it, deteriorating further from that place. So wherever we find it, we keep it at that level so that it doesn't get worse than that. And that's why it's very important from time to time. A doctor is not going to follow you home to know what you're doing with your eyes or how bad it's getting or how well it's getting. So it's important that you keep up with your follow-up appointments. Also, there may be need for review of medications. That's why it's important that you don't stay away from the hospital for so long and say, oh yeah, my doctor gave me medications, I'm on medications. You don't even know if the medications are working. You don't know if they're working fine for you. You don't know if you're overdoing it. So that's one of the reasons why it's very important that you keep up with your appointment. If you've been given an appointment for 2 months, 1 week, 3 months, a year, whatever, please try to keep up with your appointments. Also, from time to time, you may be sent out to do, or even in, to do some investigative tests to compare results and say, oh, okay, this is what it was last 6 months ago. What is it like now? This is what it was last month. What is it like now? It's important that you keep up with those tests as well. Don't say, oh no, I'm tired of doing these tests. Please, it's important that we do these things. And then I think this is my last point for today, which is book an eye exam. So even if you think your vision is so good, superb, you see everything far, near, everything in between, please, it's important that you book yourself an eye exam so that you get to know. I always tell everyone that I get to talk about the eyes with, that it's important to know you owe yourself that knowledge to know your eye health status. At least know that your vision is good, not just by you thinking or hoping that it's good, but actually doing the test. Some people actually feel their vision is so good, and then they sit on our seats and they find out that, wow, I can't see that thing. I can't see that thing, So please get help as much as as soon as you can. Please, it's important that you go. We don't want to have to deal with, issues that could have been found out earlier and managed before, it became full blown. So please try to have your eyes examined, even if you feel like your vision is so good without anything. Also, if you have, more importantly, if there's a family history of an eye condition or surgery to the eye, anything around that area, someone in your family, you heard, oh, at some point your grand uncle even went blind. It's important. Please don't take these things for granted. It's important that you have your eyes examined. And if you've never had anyone in the family who's voiced out an eye condition, it doesn't mean that your eyes are perfect. That's one. Two, it doesn't mean that your eyes are perfect. There are a number of cases where we've seen that a person comes to the clinic and then we find out, oh, this person is suspicious for glaucoma. And then we check and then we find out that it's actually what it is. And then we say, oh, encourage your family members to do the same. And then they bring a family member who actually has it more full blown. Now, you see, the thing about the eyes, like I said earlier, is it's really fragile and it's delicate. And so sometimes things could be happening in the eyes that you don't get to see, you don't get to even know, you don't feel anything, no pain, no itching, no headaches, nothing. Especially that's like most likely a classic case of glaucoma. There are people who just, wake up and can't see in one eye. We try to, as much as possible, avoid those kinds of preventable, causes of blindness. And that's why you have to join us in this, in this campaign against blindness by having your eyes examined as often as possible. We usually say that at least once in every 2 years. That is, taken for granted, of course, that you screen the fact that, oh, no one in the family has any history of eye problems, and you've actually had an eye exam before and you were told your eyes are fine. So if you've been told your eyes are fine, that's good. Once in every 2 years, you should just take yourself out there and have an eye exam. I always say that because there are lots of things that we're exposed to in our present day that our parents probably didn't have to deal with. Generations before never had to deal with these things. And some of these things, we really don't know the full impact it will have on our eyes yet. We don't want to be the specimen. None of us wants to be the specimen to say, oh, 50 years after, oh, this was the cause. We don't want to be in that position. So as much as possible, let's take it up as a point of duty to, keep an eye on our eyes, keep up with your appointments once every year, at least every 2 years, have your eyes examined. But then if there's history in the family, once every year at the least, you should have your eyes examined, because sometimes these things don't show up early enough. And then at some point, they just start to show up. And if you don't check, there's no way you can know just by looking at the externals. Okay, so also, if you're 40 years, if you're approaching 40 or around 40 and above, it's important to have your eyes examined so that if presbyopia is setting in, you're beginning to have issues with reading up close, things are getting difficult to see clearly. Thereabouts, it's just important that you have your eyes examined so that from there you can begin to follow up with your vision and, keep a very close eye on your vision as well. So it may be helpful to put up a timer, a reminder on your calendar to say, oh, every 6 months, I want to have my eyes examined. Just remind yourself that, oh, I have to do this, because your eyes are so important. We only have a pair, 2 eyes. Nobody wants to lose their eyes. I think that's one of the greatest fears out there. So as much as possible, please, let's keep up with, our eye examination. Okay, so a little study showed me that, so I quoted Genesis 27 verse 1 and Genesis 48 verse 10. It'll be great if someone can read those for us. You can get someone to read, that'll be good. So basically what those scriptures say is that, do we have someone reading? Anyone read for us? Genesis 27 verse 1 talks about Isaac.
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
27 verse 1. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son. And he answered him, here I am.
Thank you so much for that. Can we have someone read the last scripture, the second scripture rather, Genesis 48 verse 10. So the first case study we see in the Bible where a person's vision went dim is Isaac, where the Bible actually records that he couldn't see things clearly. And sometimes I think about it, oh, I wish there were optometrists at that time. Probably probably Jacob wouldn't have gotten the blessing. But anyway, what do I know about that? Okay, so back to the fact that it's never a good thing to be in that place where you have to depend on the eyes of other people to be able to appreciate the world. That's a very classic case of the fact that he had to begin to feel, oh, who is this, who's coming around? Nobody wants to ever get there. So it's important that we have these eye exams as, we prioritize that. Okay, so who has the next scripture for us, please?
Okay, can I go?
Yes, please.
So Genesis 48 verse 10.
Okay.
Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. Then Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sis, for sharing that. You know what that actually told me is that we all know that Isaac was Jacob's father, right? So that already tells you that there's something about hereditary conditions being passed on. So Isaac had that eye condition. He had that what we now call cataract, where the vision gets blurry. Now, I also like to point out the fact that so if your parent or you know someone who has cataract, or someone was, it's not the end of the world. It's not a death sentence or anything like that. Basically, what that is that the lens in the eye is now clouded and it's no longer as clear, it's no longer as transparent as it used to be. Thankfully, there are very quick, simple surgeries these days that we do that, you know, sort of restore vision, even to be a lot better than when they, you know, had the cataract. So don't be afraid to say, oh, you know, let's have let's check this and actually know what it is. If it's cataract, we call it one of the forms, one of the reversible blindness cases, which means that once we take out the old lens and we put in the artificial lens into the eyes, vision can actually be restored. So that's very different from a glaucoma case where whatever we meet, we can only try as much as possible to avoid further loss. So please, it's important, especially if you have, let your family members know. It's an awareness period. It's a period where we're trying to, you know, get enough people, lots of people to be aware of their eye health and keeping an eye on. A lot of people go blind for needless cases, really. You know, the statistics we looked at said that 90% are actually preventable, actually treatable. So why should anybody go blind for that? So it's important that you please join in the campaign in your little way. Make sure that your family is well catered for. Ensure that every one of them has their eyes examined. Also, so like I said, Isaac and Jacob, that gives you an idea of the fact that most of these things, some of these things can be hereditary. Sometimes they're not. So don't say, oh, my father's eyes were good. You know, he never had surgery or anything. Please have your eyes examined so that you can speak for yourself. Okay, so that said, let's move to the next slide. Yes, so this is the very final one where I encourage every one of us to prioritize our eyes and take responsibility for your health. Don't, like I said, don't outsource caring for yourself, for your body, the general body, or even your eyes to anybody. Nobody can do that enough. You're going to have to take responsibility and say, oh, you know, I always tell my patients, wherever you are in the world, just have your eyes examined. It's not necessarily about, oh, you have to come to this clinic or that clinic. It's important to find the right places. And that's why I had to take my time to tell you about the 4 practitioners that have to do with the eyes. So exactly that thing. Oh, thank you, Lord, for reminding me. You do not have an eye problem and go to a pharmacy. People have gone blind, you know, by, oh, I was given this eye drop in the pharmacy. Please, you should locate a very credible eye clinic around you and visit them for proper eye care, because these people, you know, are not really well trained for the eye stuff. So they really don't know what goes and what doesn't. So it's important that you see your ophthalmologist or you see your optometrist and, you know, get to the roots of it. And don't say, if you have an impact to the eyes, probably an accident or a hit or a punch or, you know, a fall or something that has an impact on your eyes. I have to stress this part because a lot of people take it for granted. Oh, there was an assault or something, and then, oh, the eyes were fine. My eyes were red initially, and after a while, it cleared up. Don't fall for that, please. The eyes, like I said, eyes are so delicate. It would not immediately tell you, oh, it may scream immediately and say, oh, there's pain, or, you know, it may go red. Don't take the fact that it stops to mean that it has actually stopped, because sometimes, a lot of times, you know, it escalates beyond that level in the coming years. So it's important that after such an impact to the eyes, you take yourself to the eye clinic so that whatever mechanisms may have been cascaded will be dealt with immediately so that it doesn't cause any issues in the future. Please, it's so important. So here I also quoted a scripture that I love so much, Deuteronomy 34 verse 7, which says that Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim nor his natural force abated. Thank God we have an even greater covenant as children of God, bought by the blood of the Lamb. This is God's promise to us, that we will grow old and not have to experience cataract. Isn't that great? I'm excited just saying that. So we're just really here to create that awareness, to have our eyes examined. Yes, we're going to do the needful by ourselves. We're going to do what we need to do, but we're not ignorant of the fact that overall we have a greater covenant. We have, the blood of Jesus speaking over and over for us. Also, 3 John 2 says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers." So it is God's will for everyone to have very crisp vision. It's amazing that Jesus talks about the eyes so much. He talks about how that, if your eyes be single, the whole body will be full of light. He talks about if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck it out. There's a lot of scriptures out there that have to do with the eyes, because the eyes are so important. And like we said, we trust that, even after tonight, beyond our physical eyes being open, beyond, our physical eyes being healthy, beyond the protection that we put on over our eyes to prevent any damage from the sun and from, the environmental factors and all of that, we trust that our spiritual eyes will be open as well. So that brings me to the end of tonight's session. Thank you very much for obliging me. Thank you for coming on. And yes, so you can actually reach out to me if you have questions or you want to find out which tribal clinics are around you, that I will gladly put that out for you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.